I'm using this little fancy mic. So today I am going to be sharing a presentation on how to unlock your storytelling superpowers. I just have a passion for supporting entrepreneurs, and pitching and storytelling is such a key element. It's crucial in the process. You're always going to be talking about your business, and you need to be strategic and creative in how you tell your story so that you can actually get access to those resources we're all looking to unlock. So first, I'll tell you a little bit about myself and maybe a few stories of my own entrepreneurial journey. And then we'll get into sort of just breaking down the power of storytelling, various frameworks that you can use that you probably are already familiar with, maybe outside of the business realm, but you can apply them to your own startups and small businesses. And then I definitely want to save plenty of time to sort of workshop with you all and hear some of the stories that you may already tell, and try to brainstorm and think about how we can tell even more powerful stories moving forward. So part of my story is that I've gone from being just an aspiring entrepreneur to a quote unquote successful founder. And my journey has absolutely been shaped by telling stories all along the way. I've gone through a lot of different challenges, getting access to funding, connecting with people who understand me and believe in my mission, vision, and values. But with that persistence and active storytelling, I was able to land my story on someone who had access to resources. And that unlocked a really pivotal opportunity for me in my business career so far. So over time, storytelling, as I've come to learn, is my secret weapon in connecting with others and achieving business success. And it absolutely can be your secret weapon as well. If at any point in time I start lagging or chopping up, please let me know. My camera's looking a little funky right now, but I want to make sure y'all hear everything clearly. So my entrepreneurial journey started at University of Delaware, where I actually received a bachelor's of science in exercise science, thinking I wanted to become a physical therapist. But when I was at the university, I realized that I really wasn't passionate about the classes I was taking. I knew that I wanted to help people at the end of the day, but I didn't truly understand, through what means I would do that. It wasn't until I discovered our entrepreneurship center on campus did I find that there are opportunities for creative people, people who want to solve problems and build a better world through entrepreneurship, and actually help them get access to resources like a space to work from, connections, mentors, potential investors, and grant funding. So what I started to do, which I didn't tell my parents at the time, was I spent a lot more time in the entrepreneurship center than I did in the College of Health Sciences. And I applied for every opportunity I could find, any startup pitch competition, any opportunity just to go and network with people in business. They had this thing called Free Lunch Friday, where you could just show up on Fridays and just hear from a successful entrepreneur and just learn their story, hear from their story, and hopefully be inspired and build a connection with them for the long term, if that's something you wanted to do. And when I first started shooting that shot and applying for pitch competitions, I was not good at pitching. I was very bad at telling my story. I didn't really know what story to tell. But over time, through feedback and just understanding, or at least trying to understand why I was losing, I sort of fine-tuned that skill. This picture here is the first pitch competition I ever placed in. So I take a lot of pride in it. And the prize, as you can see, was $200. So it wasn't, life-changing money. But for a student entrepreneur who's just trying to figure things out, like working part-time jobs, trying to put himself through school, in addition to just like dreaming and feeling like I can turn this idea into reality, $200 for my idea. I'm like, man, it's game time now. So it was second place. So I knew if I could get second, there's a chance I can get first. And I just kept putting in the work to just learn from successful entrepreneurs, watch shows like Shark Tank, listen to various podcasts, and read a bunch of books over time. Now, as I progressed along my journey, as I mentioned, ended up graduating with my bachelor's, but I was really stressed out the entire time. I could switch majors, but it would force me to stay in school longer. right? I would have to make up for that time. So I didn't want to do that. I also didn't know what major I would even switch to. I felt like I already made the wrong decision and everything else on the list was just something I didn't really want to do. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to stick this out and I'll figure things out after that. I continue to show up and participate in pitch competitions. And this one is, I believe it was either the end of junior year or right at the beginning of senior year of college. But I got to be on a big stage and pitch to these very successful entrepreneurs and investors and tell them all about really the same idea I had when I won this $200. But on this stage, the prize was much larger. It was a couple $1,000s. And I had spent the entire night before this pitch in this building, the Venture Development Center on campus, trying to craft the perfect story. I went through tons and tons of revisions. I was practicing in the mirror in the bathroom like a madman, and time was just flying by. It got to around midnight where I had fleshed out a pretty long script for myself and then made the fatal mistake of balling up that piece of paper and throwing it away. I decided to totally start from the beginning and come up with a brand new pitch and worked throughout the rest of the night to try to figure that out. So to make a long story short, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. came around. I realized I needed to leave, shower, and be on this stage at 8 a.m. So incredibly stressful. I'm running on no sleep. I have a full presentation to give to these rich people who could potentially help turn my ideas and my dreams into reality. And to say the least, like, it was quite overwhelming. I ended up getting to the event. They line all of the entrepreneurs up to come onto the stage one by one, pitch your business, get questions from the judges, and then leave. And the winner will be decided after that. When it came to my turn, they announced the name of a business and then my name. And I walk out into the middle of the stage. And what I had to tell them when I got to the middle of the stage was, that's not the name of my business. They called out the wrong name of the business and they, sort of just mess things up. So their mess up becomes my mess ups. Because in my head, I'm trying to remember my pitch and just keep my composure so that I could potentially win some money. So all things are going south for me in this moment. I totally blanked on my script and I could not remember what to say. So I'm standing on the stage, I'm in front of these people, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. So I sort of fumble through the different things that I want to say. I'm flipping through my slides because I do have them showing up above me, but it was not the presentation I wanted to give. When it came time for Q&A, thankfully, the judges were easy on me and they knew, like, okay, this guy is just like, they sort of said what I was feeling. I'm like, I shouldn't really be here right now. Like, my concept was totally different than everyone else who presenting product-based businesses, technology-based businesses. Mine was more of a service, could be a nonprofit. So I just really didn't fit in. But one of the judges started to ask me well, why do you want to do this? Why are you so passionate about, bringing your ideas onto the stage and telling the world about it? And I told them how passionate I am about entrepreneurship, particularly about supporting our community. And at that time, I was really working with young people in the community who are often told they won't be anything. But I believe that through entrepreneurship and showing positive role models, we can flip that narrative. So I get to tell my story. And that's where I really, was able to shine. And I end up running out of time, get off the stage, and I wanted to hide in the back of the room. I didn't want anybody to come up to me. I did not want anyone to talk to me. I'm like, my life is over. I was supposed to prepare for this and I utterly failed. And I just want to hide for days on end. While I was sitting in the back of the room, the director of the Entrepreneurship Center on campus came and sat next to me and said, I want to talk to you about grad school and a job. And after that, he ended up sharing that the university was going to provide me with a scholarship to get a master's in entrepreneurship in 1 year. So I knew in that moment, this was an incredible relief. My work has paid off for telling my story, and I'm able to do the thing that I'm truly passionate about, which again is studying entrepreneurship and teaching other people. Fast forwarding to just last year, I can say that I've worked on a bunch of different startups, pitched a bunch of different concepts, And not only have I helped other people get access to funding, but I continue to do it for myself. So I truly do practice what I preach. And this was one of the proudest moments of my life because this is the biggest prize I've won in a pitch competition. But through some really creative storytelling and honestly, just, putting in the work that it takes to secure the bag, my team and I were able to secure $35,000 for a startup that is just getting off the ground. Right. So again, what I've learned through time is that our stories are incredibly powerful. This is my story and you all are a part of it now. So I want to see pictures of y'all with big checks. And that is a big win for us all. So let's talk about why stories matter. Stories matter because they help us relate to other people and build connections. They allow us to share our dreams, our visions, and our values. And through telling our stories, we can inspire others to join us on our journey. So you all as entrepreneurs, you're different, right? You're doing something that not everyone is doing. And the only way to get people to understand what you see in your head and to believe in what you're doing and trying to achieve is to tell that story, is to talk about your vision. And as we do that, it's really important to try to help the audience understand why your story is important to them, or I'm sorry, why it's important to you and why it should also be important to them. Because if you're participating in something like a pitch competition or you're raising funding for your business, people have the freedom to do whatever they would like to do with their own money, right? But if you want to use your story to convince them that investing in you is a good idea, then you really need to figure out, what story do I need to tell this person? So there are a lot of different types of stories you can tell and will tell in your business. But at the end of the day, each one that you tell has a goal of getting people to become a part of it. When you think about pitching your business and telling your story, I want you to think about the different stories that you can tell within your pitch. So let me ask first, maybe put it in the chat if you have or have not participated in a pitch competition before. You can just say I have or I have not. Okay, have not. Some have, some have not. Perfect. Okay, it looks like a pretty good mix here. So that's entirely okay. In pitch competitions, the amount of time that you have to present can vary. The prize pool can vary. The audience can vary. So what I want you to think about the next time you are preparing for a pitch, which is now, is truly understanding who the audience is first, because that will dictate what type of story or which types of stories you should tell. The different types of stories you can tell include personal stories, customer stories, investor stories, and aspirational stories. Personal stories are exactly what it sounds like. It's where you share an experience that you've personally had, talk about your journey, and getting people to just understand who you are. Then we have customer stories. Customer stories are almost like testimonials, or they can be testimonials. They can also be sort of similar to personal stories where you're breaking down who this person is, what their experience is with a certain pain point or problem, and eventually how your solution comes in to save the day. When it comes to investor stories, we focus on the potential that our business has, the financial outcomes you could achieve, and the benefits that that person receives for financially supporting your business. So think about, through investor stories and customer stories, you're telling someone else's story. And then we have aspirational stories. So with aspirational stories, this is where you're painting a picture of the future and what the world can look like when your business makes the impact that you want it to have. So aspirational stories, think about dreams, right? Like, what does the world look like to you, like in an ideal world? And I break all of these down because oftentimes I see a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners really focusing on the personal stories. And that's great. It's very powerful to tell a personal story. And when you're in front of other people introducing yourself, this is how we get to know you. So personal stories are important. But then as you go along with your pitch, start to think about the different characters in the bigger picture. So those different characters include the customers that you aim to serve, given that you've had some experience in life, had a problem, made a solution for yourself, and then you found out there were a bunch of other people that had this problem as well. tell the stories of those people in addition to talking about your own personal journey. Talk about how when you're able to serve all of these people that you discovered exist, investors can benefit. All right. And at the end of the day, here's what the world looks like when this business, whatever your concept, your idea, your existing company does today, what does the world look like when you've achieved your goal? Sorry about that. Now, I want to share a couple of examples. These are different frameworks that are time-tested storytelling frameworks. So a lot of pretty much every movie that you've seen, a lot of books that you read, various plays, leverage most likely one of these frameworks to tell a story. So we're going to focus on like movies and books for a moment, but just know that when it comes to pitching your business and telling a powerful story, you need to start thinking like a writer, start thinking like, an executive producer of an award-winning TV show, right? You want to tell a really powerful story. So the main frameworks of storytelling include the hero.
Uh-oh, Gary, I think we lost you. Uh-oh.
Anything?
There you are. You're back.
Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. All right. If we have, yeah, let me know if there's another issue and I'll try reset. But yes, hopefully. Okay. Tell me what did you hear last? Hero's journey, or did you not even hear that part?
We heard the beginning part, the hero's journey.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So the hero's journey is probably one of the most popular frameworks. Black Panther is a great example of it, which I'll break down. I'll break down each framework after this slide. But in summary, you have a hero, they face a challenge, and then they emerge transformed. We have another framework called the 3-act structure, where you can think of a movie like Get Out, where there is a setup, a confrontation, and a final resolution. And then a third framework, which is very similar to 3-act structure. And as you start to see, really all of them are similar in a way. This one's called Freytag's Pyramid, where the autobiography of Malcolm X is a great example because there's a lot going on in this book, but there's an introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. So what does the hero's journey look like in Black Panther? We know that Black Panther follows T'Challa's hero's journey as he navigates the challenges of becoming king of Wakanda. He faces a powerful adversary, a Killmonger, who challenges his throne and forces him to confront the responsibilities of his role while discovering the true power and potential of Wakanda. So in your story, when you're pitching your business, you want to position yourself as the hero. Think about adopting the mindset of becoming T'Challa, becoming the Black Panther. All right. Hopefully we have Black Panther fans here. If not, this probably doesn't work for you. But T'Challa is the king. And at the end of the day, right, we all want to arise from the ashes and be successful in our endeavors. All right. So breaking down the 3-act structure for Get Out. In Get Out, there's a young Black man who visits his white girlfriend and they stay in this house for the weekend. But as the weekend progresses, he uncovers a disturbing secret that puts him in a fight for survival against the sinister intentions of his girlfriend's family. So here's where we start to get a little bit more complex. This is where I might incorporate some customer stories, telling a truly horrific experience that someone has had. And in putting the audience into that seat, right, they feel bad for this person. And they're like, someone has to do something. And that becomes you. And then finally, just very quickly on this one, but for the autobiography of Malcolm X and using Freytag's Pyramid, we know that the autobiography follows Malcolm X's life from his early years and experiences with racism through conversion to Islam and rise as a civil rights leader to his transformational pilgrimage to Mecca, ultimately to his assassination. But then, the remainder really highlights his journey through personal growth, activism, and his legacy, most importantly. So I wanted to just give those examples of how those frameworks are used for movies and books you may have watched or read. But now I want to get more into leveraging those frameworks and applying them to small businesses and technology startups. So we're going to focus on using the hero's journey because, as I said, I think it's the most powerful framework for you to use as entrepreneurs pitching your businesses, particularly for this competition and any other competition, really. But you'll get these slides, and I would say, if you want to lean more into storytelling, I would, look at more examples of those other frameworks and think about how you can use those frameworks to secure customers, right? To do your marketing for your business, to tell stories on social media, through your newsletter. And those powerful stories attract people, particularly customers, to come and want to spend money with you. So let's talk about how we can use the hero's journey framework as a beauty product founder. With the hero's journey, we start in the ordinary world, and the ordinary world is the past. It's the origins, it's Genesis. All right. So here you talk about who you are, but more in particular, if this is a product you've developed from personal experiences, you want to talk about the experiences that you had that led you to this moment. So you may talk about the struggles that you had with skincare or beauty, what your unique experiences were, how hard it made life for you, how it affected various aspects of your well-being. And from there, you start to share the challenges of you articulating a need for a solution, creating some solution for yourself, and just trying to make it work. All right. So through your own personal journey, you may have just started experimenting in your kitchen with different ingredients, throwing things together, watching YouTube videos, watching TikTok, whatever it might be, trying to figure out what would work for you. And eventually you do find that thing. All right. When you find that thing, you love it so much, you think it can help other people. And as you try to help other people with your product, as you try to, turn it into a real thing, turn it into a real business, get it in some legitimate packaging that's not a mason jar or a plastic bag, you face obstacles like skepticism, a lack of access to capital. No one's investing in you. No one's giving you the resources that you need. No one believes in, your vision and that it should become a reality. There may be other challenges that you face in, maybe you invested your personal savings into your packaging designs. You start partnering with a manufacturer that almost runs you out of business. Like, start to share the challenges that you have. But then we get to today, where you're sharing that despite all the things that you've gone through, here's what you've been able to achieve. And you talk about the customers that you've gotten, right? How much revenue you've generated. Talk about the testimonials from customers. Really start to share how, your perseverance in turning this product into a real thing has truly transformed other people's lives, right? And now here we are today, where you have so much potential to create an even bigger difference, make an even larger dent in the market, but you need some help, right? So that leads us to sort of the end, where you're in front of a group of people as the hero. You're saying, I created this thing out of a personal need. I identified that there's a much larger market of people who have the same problem that I had, and they need something better. So at this point, the audience is looking at you like you are the king or queen of Wakanda, right? Have seen your journey. They've seen what you've gone through. They've heard all of the success that you've had despite the odds and despite the challenges. And now, you've positioned yourself to make an ask to them to part ways with whatever resources they have that can help you out. All right. So by this point, people should be almost willing to just throw money at you because you've told such a powerful story. This is a sort of draft I put together, but this is what that story could look like in a very short and concise way. All right. So if you were a beauty product entrepreneur, you could say, I struggled with persistent skin issues that no product could solve. My journey led me to discover a unique blend of natural ingredients that transform my skin. And despite the numerous challenges that I faced, I developed my product, which has since helped countless others achieve their skincare goals. This is an oversimplification of what your story will look like, but it can be used as a template to get started. And where what you start to fill in include the personal aspects of the story. It includes how truly unique your blend is, the success that you've achieved. So again, like Tanya said, when you're telling your story, really, hyping yourself up, making yourself sound like you are the perfect person for this job because you have achieved a certain number of customers in a short amount of time, or you've secured a significant partnership that will really help you scale nationally, potentially globally, right? So start to think about how you fill in these blanks for yourself. All right. So I told you I did some homework on y'all. So let's think about using the hero's journey for a mental health product. First, you would start by introducing yourself and sharing potentially your personal struggles with mental health. You discover a technique, a tool, or an approach that significantly improves your personal mental well-being. And you decide, you know what, if this helps me, it can help so many other people. And you find that, in fact, yes, there is a large market opportunity. So I'm going to turn my need for a solution into a product that I can deliver to the world. And in doing so, I start to face challenges, funding issues, launched the product. It was sort of buggy and people couldn't even use it. Investors won't invest in me because they don't see the value of mental health. But despite all of these things, here I am today. We have launched our platform. We got our first 1,000 users. And here are some testimonials of how people's lives were transformed for having become part of our customer community. So again, you position yourself as the hero in this journey. You are someone who is helping other people tackle significant challenges for themselves. And those challenges are and can be, potentially life-threatening. So if you are literally saving people's lives with your product or your service, tell us that, right? And tell the stories of how people have benefited. Again, as an example, here's one for the mental health product. So you could say, I struggled with severe anxiety and depression throughout my life. I tried traditional methods and they just didn't work for me. My journey led me to discover, a certain technique. Maybe I use that technique and develop a product around it that uses technology, and it has transformed my personal mental health, but I know it can help others as well. Now, despite facing stigma and technology development challenges, I have launched this product into the market, and it has helped so many people achieve mental wellness. So again, think about telling your story from a perspective of there's a problem, you develop a solution, put it out into the world, and you achieve some level of success. At the end, we'll talk about sort of the big goal here, because it's not just about telling a story to tell a story, but getting people to hear these stories and become empathetic, get you much closer to getting the resources that they have. Finally, here is an example of the hero's journey for a software business. So think about someone developing an application, web application, mobile, doesn't matter, but some sort of tech platform. So let's say you yourself were a small business owner and you're facing various challenges just managing your business on the day-to-day. Those challenges could be operational. It could be about trying to become more efficient. It could be about, you're spending too much on a whole bunch of different tools and you're like, well, if only all of these things could be in one solution, that would be so much better. And then you decide, you know what, I'm going to create this thing because I need it. And if I need it, there are a bunch of other small business owners who might as well. Again, you start to work on this idea. You're trying to turn your dream into a reality, and you face obstacles like software development, funding issues, and maybe people, when you first put it out into the market, just didn't sign up for it. And that's okay, right? But you want to be truthful about the challenges you're facing and have faced. But then you go from talking about how hard things were to how strong you are as an entrepreneur. And you say, I overcame those obstacles. We've launched the latest version of our app, and we are helping people in this way. So again, position yourself as the hero. So this example actually looks like you telling a customer story, right? So like I said, you can tell your personal story or you can tell the stories of others. So we'll tell the story of Sarah, where you say, meet Sarah, a small business owner overwhelmed by managing her operations. You can relate to her because you have similar struggles with your own small business and you embarked on your own journey to develop a solution. You tackle those challenges of getting your solution into the market. And today you serve X number of small businesses across the country who, due to using your platform, have achieved X level of success. You've helped them reduce their costs by a certain amount. You've helped them generate a larger amount of revenue month to month or year to year, or you've simply made their lives much easier. As you tell your stories, and how I would tell my story is to paint a picture of the past, present, and future. So if you're not quite sure where to start, to simplify things, sort of just break it up into 3 parts. Simplify your story into 3 parts. The first part is the past. And the past is how things were either before or like just as you're getting started with your journey. All right. So think about that time that you experienced a problem or you heard someone experience a problem and then you decided to do something about it. We get to the second part of our story, which is the present. So here's where you're telling people what you've accomplished to date, right? After experiencing that pain point, you decided to do something about it. And here's how it's going right now. All right, here's what you've achieved today. Here's how customers are benefiting from our solution as we speak. But we don't leave it at that. A lot of entrepreneurs leave it at that. They say, here's how we're doing today. All right. And then they say, give me money. No, wrong. You forgot the last part of the story. The last part is the future. So you need to instill your vision of what's possible into our minds as the audience. So you need to tell us what the future could look like when your business is successful, right? You have a level of success today, but you keep going because you know the market is so much larger. There's so much more opportunity. There's so many more customers to serve, right? There's so many new products we can develop and launch and add to our product line. So tell us about the future. Tell us about the outcomes you can achieve when this business really has everything it needs to be successful, right? What's your big picture vision? That's where investors, funders really get excited because you have positioned yourself as this hero. Again, you have achieved a level of success today, but now the audience is looking at you like, wow, I want to be a part of this story. I can help this person get to the future. I have the resources to help them achieve that goal that they just set out. All right. So make sure that you're making that clear to everyone listening to your pitch. All right. I think I'll go through these quickly so we can get to a little bit of a workshop. But again, it just looks like breaking down your hero journey. So if you're a beauty product entrepreneur, you could say in the past, I struggled with finding skincare products cater to my specific skin type and needs. I looked at the market. It was saturated with a bunch of generic solutions that often caused more harm than good. All right. That's the past. You're telling us about how things were for you in a particular moment. But then we get to today where you say, that led me to creating this product, this service, or we offer a range of skincare solutions tailored to diverse skin types. And our products are formulated with natural ingredients, providing safe and effective results. And you can talk about all the success you've seen in business to date. Again, how many customers you have, how much revenue you've generated, but then you get into the future and you say, moving forward, we plan on revolutionizing the beauty industry with personalized skincare solutions driven by AI, ensuring every individual can achieve their best skin. It's more technical than maybe you want to be. You may, of course, not want to implement AI, but think about how you get people excited, right? What's the thing that you can do that taps into, again, like where the world is going? Like using AI is like the big thing right now. So if you're able to tell the audience, hey, not only am I a great entrepreneur with like selling this particular product, but I'm forward thinking. I'm thinking about how we position this business to become an enterprise, right? Like this is the dream, the vision is so much larger than the product we initially introduced to the market. All right. But at the end of the day, when this business is able to be successful, every individual can achieve their best skin, right? You're talking about how you are affecting the world. You're like, I want every person on the world to benefit from my solution. Here's what it looks like for a mental health product. Again, think about the past. Years ago, resources were scarce and they were stigmatized, and mental health was just something people didn't talk about. People like me just didn't have access to the resources we need, but we still needed to manage our anxiety and depression. Given that, brings us to today, where we've developed a product that tackle those problems. It provides comprehensive mental health toolkits, which include mindfulness exercises, mood tracking, and it empowers users to take control of their mental wellness, right? So again, positioning yourself as the hero, you are trying to make the world a better place for people like you who had a significant challenge. So given all of that, tell us how you envision the world after, again, building the ideal solution, right? It has all the features that you know it needs, right? It doesn't have, right now, it may be just like a minimum viable product. It has like some essential things, but it's missing some key elements that can make your customers' lives even better, right? So the future looks like you envisioning a world where mental health care is accessible to everyone, with tools being used globally to support mental well-being in schools, workplaces, and communities. All right. So again, that vision, tell us the big picture. And then lastly, for a software business, talk about how the past was for someone else. So, talk about the small business owner. So in the past, small business owners used to spend countless hours doing manual tasks. They had limited software options that were either too expensive or too complex for their needs. Given that, I developed a solution that simplifies business operations for small businesses. It integrates essential functions like accounting, inventory management, and customer relationship management in one easy platform, right? So again, you are the hero. Moving forward, our goal for the future is to create an ecosystem where small business owners can thrive using our solution to scale their businesses efficiently, fostering innovation and economic growth. So here you're really saying and really highlighting the exponential return that comes from supporting your business, right? Like your business enables other businesses to be successful. And when those businesses are successful, they create jobs, they create thriving communities, right? Like everyone wins. So again, at the end of the day, try to paint that picture of how a large amount of people, even more people than is realistic, right? People, you can say everyone to put that vision in our head. Of course, you can't actually serve everyone, but to have that as your goal, you have this sort of like limitless potential, right? And now that you've positioned yourself as the hero, like heroes can do anything. So we believe in you. We're like, yeah, we want everyone to have this product. Okay, so sort of wrapping up here, as you start to tell your own stories, you want to set goals and have a clear call to action for each story. Your audience, like I said, can include funders and resource providers, different investors. So if you're pitching to investors, you have to tell a certain story or set of stories. If you're pitching to customers, you may tell a different story and should tell us a different story, because customers aren't necessarily investors. They have different goals for themselves, right? But as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to tell stories to all of these different people and be ready to tell your story when the time presents itself. So I recommend just going through this exercise of creating a pitch, an elevator pitch for various audiences that you interact with. But being really clear about your goals is super important. And I would say, like, what I've learned through pitch competitions is that, yes, part of your goal is to secure the first place prize, right? Get that big check. So the main audience is the set of judges in front of you. But what we know is that, and what you may not know if you've not participated in one, is that you're not just pitching to the judges. There's an audience as well, whether it's a virtual audience or in person. You have the judges who are scoring you on a certain criteria to see who gets the prize. But then you have this audience of people who could become customers. They could be investors. They could have other resources, connections, like, they may want to partner with you on something. So as you construct your pitch, in particular for a pitch competition, think about the different ways in your big picture story, right? To sort of talk about different characters along the way. And when people hear this big story, they see themselves in different characters. The investors see themselves from the investor perspective. The customers see themselves from the customer perspective. The resource providers see themselves from that perspective, right? So that's a mistake I see a lot of entrepreneurs do, is they just limit themselves to thinking about pitching to the judges. And again, pitching to the judges will help you secure the prize, but there may be other resources that you're just not going to be able to leverage and unlock if you don't talk to that audience. All right. Some calls to action you can have at the end of your pitch can include investing in your business. So talking about, I would say, the specific amount of money that's allocated for the grand prize. Like, talk about how that amount, that specific amount, would be invested in your business. Talk about what you would spend that money on, right? Say the grand prize is $5,000. Tell us how you're going to use $5,000 specifically, how much you're going to allocate to marketing, how much you're going to allocate to job creation, packaging designs, right? Like, tell us about ideally how you're going to make that $5,000 stretch and how it's going to transform your business. Because me, as a judge, investor type person in the audience, that's what I'm looking for. Who's going to maximize this money, not just from a perspective of like making me more money, but how do you serve lots and lots more people? Other calls to action could be getting someone to join your team, right? So talk about how you're a solo entrepreneur right now, and you're really struggling to get this business to the next level because it's just you, and you know you need to bring on somebody. Tell us who that somebody is. What is the skill set that you're looking for that you're just not good at, but you know you need to fill on your team? And that makes you look really good as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, because you can't be strong at everything. Every hero has a weakness. So it's okay to share what that weakness is. And then lastly, a call to action could be, and should be, like, put up a QR code, put up your link to your website. Like, everybody who's looking at that last slide in your presentation should be able to know like where to go to buy from you, to sign up to your newsletter, to follow you on Instagram, whatever it is. Like, pick one main call to action and make sure that's very clear, so that as the judges are asking you questions, right, and you have that slide up behind you or just still on the screen, everybody who's watching sees your little commercial. So again, goal setting, super important. And here are just some questions you can ask yourself if you're not sure where to get started. Ask yourself, why do you want to tell a story? If you start with that and then just start brainstorming, you may get some clarity for yourself and understand like what your goals should be. Think about what you want to achieve through telling those stories. Start to think about, what story do you want to tell? And I love this one because the story that you want to tell might not be a story that's true. I don't know if y'all thought that's where I was going, but you can make up a story. All right. You can, like, Wakanda is not real, right? Wakanda is not a real place, but when we hear the story, we believe in it, right? We feel like it's a real thing. Like, Black people right now are like, yo, like, we could build Wakanda. Like, they think it's a thing. It's not a thing, but somebody told a great story that made you believe that it could exist, right? So if your goal is to inspire, if it's to motivate, if it's to get people to invest, like, just think about, what story do I have to tell to achieve that outcome? Again, think about your target audience. And then even where you are right now, I know several of you said you already have participated in pitch competitions, but we can always improve. We can always get better. Even if you've made $1 million in business, right? There are founders right now. They made $1 million, but they want to make $1 billion, right? So that difference in part comes from telling even more powerful stories. So think about how you can improve from where you are today. And with that, I want to hear your stories. I would love to just workshop with everyone, and maybe everyone can sort of go around and share a story of either something that exists currently in one of their pitches, or if they have an idea of a story they want to tell